Others have taken the position that relocation is a more humane and viable alternative to culling. But elephants have a complex social structure that is easily unbalanced, often with unexpected consequences.
We were one of the first places to receive orphaned elephants in the late 70s, about 79. These were the animals that were left over from the cull, where the Kruger officials decided that the youngsters could be saved, and they were taken away from their mothers that were obviously killed. These elephants arrived in Pilanesberg and once released into the park, basically bombshelled and scattered all over the park in small groups, fragmented. And this was obviously due to the fact that they had no leaders, they had no matriarch, they had no mothers, they had no structure.
In order to try and restore balance to this dysfunctional group of orphans, it was decided to introduce a couple of older cows.
These two adult cows were then released into the Pilanesberg system, and amazingly all these orphaned elephants were drawn to them like magnets. They really saw them as the matriarchs, and they took over the matriarchal role.
But the problem continued. Now the young bull elephants were becoming overly aggressive, and in the course of 3 years killed nearly 50 white rhinos.
And one of the most likely causes was that there was no old elephant bulls in the system. Pilanesberg was one of the first places to receive, at that point, 6 Kruger bulls that were over 30 years of age. Once these bulls were released into the park, they immediately went on a system of tackling these young bulls that were now in must, and it suppressed must immediately. It was always the bulls in must that were killing white rhinos. As soon as those Kruger bulls arrived, we didn't lose one single white rhino ever again.
Our understanding of the elephant's social structure has come a long way, and now entire families can be successfully moved as an alternative to culling. But it is still a highly complex, expensive, and labour-intensive operation.
Every elephant capture has a support group of at least 50, 60 people, because everything has got to be done very professionally, very quickly. You have the teams on the ground, accompanied by a helicopter, and you go into areas where you have big elephant herds. And the helicopter will move in and break the herd up into family groups. They'll splinter in and stay with their family groups. People with darts, with the drugs in the back of the helicopter, will then dart all of the elephant. Immediately they go down, the ground groups move in. And if they're babies, they have to physically capture the babies by hand. And they're very strong, these little babies. So you've got these strong boys running behind these elephants and tackling the babies. They are then loaded onto a field tractor with a trailer, a pulley. They are then winched into the big truck. And as soon as they're in the big truck, a vet will jump in and put the antidote, and the elephant will then stand up and get onto their feet. Very important you get them on their feet as soon as possible. The average family group is about 10, 12, 15 elephant in number. So you move them all together in one group, and then you move them to wherever they got to go.
Relocation is best used to manage smaller populations, as it is obviously not practical to move thousands of animals over long distances. However, it is an effective solution when combined with some of the latest technology. In recent years, tremendous advances in veterinary science have given us new insight and ways to manage the elephant population.
When we contracept females at the moment using immunocontraception, it's made up of a vaccine called PZP. Once that vaccine is injected into an elephant, it causes an antibody reaction, and that antibody reaction forms a protective layer, and the sperm cannot penetrate the egg. We did initial trials in the Kruger National Park back in 1996, where we contracepted a few females. We now had to implement it on a free-ranging population. We know it can contracept elephants, but can it work on a population and actually stabilize that population? And there we moved to a reserve called Makalali, which has a discrete population of around 65 elephants.
Well, Makalali is the longest running study in terms of immunocontraception, in terms of back-to-back study, and it's been ongoing since the year 2000. So we're entering into our 6th year. Our 6 annual vaccinations are coming up now. We have had 100% reproductive control in our targeted females since August 2002. So we've had 0% growth rates in our targeted females.
Currently we're managing about 500 elephants in South Africa using immunocontraception. People always talk about the cost of things and say that contraception is quite an expensive option. in the scope of things, and taking the other management options into consideration, it's not.
Having spent so much time with animals, I think that if there are more humane alternative means of controlling them, we should be adopting them. And so I feel really privileged to be a part of a potential solution which may, in the future, actually eliminate the needs for culling.
Pioneered by a team of veterinarians from the US, one of the newest and most innovative methods of elephant contraception is vasectomy, a procedure involving the snipping of the male's sperm glands. Dr. Mark Stetter explains.
This is some brand new medical technology, never been used before in elephants, never really been used in wildlife before, and what we want to be able to do is develop that technique, teach people how to use it. 2 years ago when we started working with elephants was the first time anybody had successfully sterilized in the wild an elephant. And so we worked with female cows at Pinda Game Reserve, and at that location we were able to prove that elephants do very well in the surgery. They wake up very quickly from the anesthesia, they heal very well from the surgery, and then we didn't have any problems with infections. Now the next year we decided that we were going to start working on the males, and at that time we learned how to flip the animals on a standing position instead of having them lying down. And in that standing position we can do things much quicker, and we can also help them anesthetically more than we can when they're lying down.
What you see here is 2.5 years of research and work on it.
Now during the surgery we obviously worry about any chances of infection, so you see that we sterilely drape all the tables in the animal. We disinfect the skin before we do it. We have caps and masks and gloves that are all germ-free, and then we give the animal antibiotics and painkillers during the procedure so that really they have little discomfort and less chance of infection afterwards. So really this trip has been the first time that we've been able to, in a very timely way, have the animals anesthetized, positioned in that position next to the crane truck in a standing position, and we've been able to remove the vas deferens.
We've just recently undergone a laparoscopic vasectomy on the bulls, and we'll be doing several more over the coming days.
We've done 2 successful vasectomies in a row, which took probably 3 hours to do, which is fantastic.
3 animals so far, and obviously today is our 4th and final animal.
So contraception in itself won't obviously reduce the population, but what it'll do is allow us as managers to control the population growth rate. So we're putting the brakes on the population, so to speak.
Okay, so once we've finished with it, we remove all those things, take all the slings off, lie the animal down onto its side. That's the only way the animal will also get up. It needs to rock, get its front legs underneath it, and then slides its back legs under. And we do that just by administering an antidote once everything is ready.